Money Moves with Myth 2.0, the podcast. And always remember, gentlemen, it's a motherfucking movie. So today we're going to be reacting to a video of a man who titled his video that getting a divorce saved his life. So we're gonna give our personal perspectives on the video. If you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and let's hop straight into the content.
Going through a divorce was one of the hardest things I ever had to do, but it ended up saving my life and turning me into an entirely different person. When I was growing up as a kid, I was always the shy, quiet kid, didn't know how to socialize and communicate my feelings. I remember I'd have a couple close friends, but I wasn't the popular kid, and I always wanted to be that. I remember watching TV shows like Saved by the Bell or like Beverly Hills 90210, where there was always the popular kid, and I always wondered why that wasn't me, or I guess I was just born this way, I took this mindset all the way up through through high school. I desperately wanted girls to like me. I wanted to be, the popular kid, Zach Morris. And that never happened. I was still very quiet and shy. I never learned social skills. So I stayed to myself, and I had the bright idea that, if they're not going to like my personality, I guess I'll be the guy who does drugs and is the cool, outcast. So I started smoking weed a lot, drinking a lot of alcohol, just trying to be the cool guy that fit in. And I made some friends that way. And I thought, this is fun. They're fun guys. I like to meet new people. Kept that up until, I was 18. And still never really had a girlfriend. I had a couple of girls who liked me, but they showed interest in me. I was never capable of showing any interest in them. And this kept up until, I was 22. I met the girl who would become my wife. And she chose me, I was happy that somebody wanted to.
And it's crazy that, this dude didn't have any confidence, any confidence. And what he was doing wrong was he was letting women choose him. He wasn't necessarily choosing women on criteria that most men have choose them on. Is she wife material? Is she this? Does she cook? Is she fun? No. This guy had how you say he had like he had issues, and so he let the women do the picking, you know, which I highly advise guys don't do. I mean, if a woman's going to choose you, then it's still up to you if you're going to pursue if you're going to take the next step and whatever, you know. But it's not a good idea if you're not out there actually picking what's right for you. But let's keep it moving.
Be with me, that I had a girlfriend that liked my personality. We had fun together. And, somebody actually wanted to be with me. I had to lock this down, I didn't want to be alone forever. I did notice there's a lot of red flags to start that relationship. There was a couple times where I had thought about breaking up with her, but I didn't have any other options. And I thought if I lost her, I would be, she was the one. So we did end up getting married. I was excited and worried at the same time. Like I said, there was a lot of red flags. She was a very insecure person, like I was. She would get very jealous of if I talked to somebody or.
Now, is there actually a lot of people who's in a relationship or who is married and they have, you guys have seen the red flags. You've seen the red flags. Like they did something, you let it go, you still with them. How many of you guys have been through this? Do you think that people actually actively have the confidence and the maturity to find somebody that's fits them, or is everybody in America doing exactly what this dude did? And basically, like, since this woman chose him, he's gonna try to lock the relationship down, go get married. He's seen the red flags, but he still did it anyway. Is everybody on one of those or what? Well, let's keep it moving.
If I was working out, she would accuse me of cheating. A lot of things, a lot of issues. I had similar issues too, so I don't blame her for any of that. It's just, I could tell that this is not a relationship that I wanted. But once you're married, I was always raised being told you have to stay with it. You got married, you have to fight through thick and thin, even if, it's not the best relationship.
And that's one of the biggest lies. One of the biggest lies is somebody is not good for you and you're going to jail or whatever behind them or whatever. Man, get out of that relationship, man. Just because you make a mistake don't mean that mistake has to own you. There's a lot of people in relationships and they feel that they shouldn't be in this relationship, but they're still there. So what does it say?
And I think some of that came from my parents' relationship. I never saw them being affectionate with each other. I never saw them kiss each other. They don't talk great about each other. They don't like to even hang out with each other. So I guess I just assumed that's what marriage was. You spend some time together. You obviously do love each other, but you want to do, I don't know, you're just not getting by, or you are just getting by. For me, because of her and my insecurities, I didn't work out at the gym. I just played video games all the time. I remember I would think, I hope she comes home late today so that I can just play my video games even longer. My life revolved around being mediocre at my job, which was just a means to make some money, nothing I was good at. I was actually terrible at it and never really wanted to do it, but it paid me enough. But yeah, so I would play video games all day. Then on the weekends, we were in small town Wisconsin, so it was always.
This guy sounds like a complete, like he didn't really have any type of life going on. Sounds like a complete loser. And it's sad to break it to a lot of us guys. A lot of us guys we're losers. We don't do nothing special. Wake up. I just got through playing my PlayStation, matter of fact. So let's keep moving.
What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? And it was just not a very good relationship. We could have fun together, obviously. We did still love each other, I guess, but it just wasn't working out. And because you're supposed to just work it out, we went through this up and down cycle, I don't know, several times over 12 years. There's several times we should have broken up, but we didn't, and we just kept going. Maybe that's how it was supposed to work out, because my life ended up changing drastically after the divorce. But while we were married, because I was comfortable with where I was and I thought I was pretty much stuck with this girl, I can't just get divorced, so why do I need to improve? But we did go through some tough times, and I started looking at ways to become a better man. At the time, I had been over.
You see what he's. No matter if you're married or not married, in a relationship, not in a relationship, there should always be room for improvement. Like, if your partner is not building you up to be the best version so you can be the best version of yourself, and and whatever goals and ambitions that you have, and they're right there with you 100%, then 9 times out of 10 you with the wrong individual. It's a possibility.
Weight, so I was starting to get high cholesterol, and I was addicted to eating fast food every day for lunch, so I was not the healthiest guy at all. And I thought that was the way it was. That's how my dad is. He's overweight, he watches TV, he plays video games, he likes his marriage, they've been married for 30 years. That's what you're supposed to do. So comes time, we're having some fights around, I think maybe January of 2017, and I start realizing that if this is gonna be over, I need to start learning how to improve myself. And I learned some ways to be more charismatic so that I could meet new people, make new friends. And I started working out. I started going to the gym, and this made her very jealous again, assuming that I was gonna leave her and start cheating on her. So I reverted back to just being comfortable, staying at home, making sure she was my priority.
Now you see what this lady's doing. This lady is minimizing his growth, putting scarcity in his mindset. Like, oh, if I go to the gym and I go work out, and she's so jealous in her mind that she's thinking that just because he's working out and looking better and stuff, that he's going to leave her. And it's a lot of times like with women, when you're in a relationship with a woman, some women, if they're very insecure, like this one sounds like she was, you know, if you start making way more money, they'll start causing issues in a relationship because they think that since you're making more money, then you're possibly going to leave them. That's somebody who is very toxic, somebody who is very toxic, and you probably need to try to get away from them because they're holding not only you back, they're holding you back for doing the best you can and being the best version of yourself for your relationship. But let's keep it moving.
I didn't have any boundaries. It was whatever you want, whatever's going to make you happy, I'll do that. And obviously that doesn't lead to a good relationship. Women want you to have strong boundaries and to have a purpose. So we tried to work it out, I don't know, for the 10th time. And fast forward a few more months, it becomes her birthday, and she comes home and tells me that she's met somebody else, and it's over. So obviously I'm devastated. I thought,
That's absolutely some of the best news that you can get from somebody. I know it's for somebody who cares about somebody and you're married, it's gonna hurt because you didn't expect these things to be going on, but that's one of the, you know, I know somebody, if you've been with somebody for like 12 years, you're like, oh my God, bro, I married this chick, I done bought a house, I done bought all these cars, um, and my world is over. She's leaving me, boo hoo hoo hoo. She's gonna get half of everything because we're married, you know. But look at the bright side. At least just leave and don't look back. You will survive. Let's keep it moving.
she was supposed to be the one. I know we had issues, but we've been working it out. But with that was the final straw. Like, there was just no going back after that, which luckily for me, she decided that it was 100% over. I still would have been the guy that probably would have taken her back, thinking, yeah, I know you made a mistake, but you know, we're supposed to be together, and you're supposed to work it out no matter what. Which, honestly, I could only imagine it would have been the same cycle over the last 7 years. If we stayed together, I would still be overweight, no social skills. She might have left again, because I did nowhere to go. I had no options. I was limiting my potential to make her happy, to feel comfortable in the relationship.
And that's exactly what I was saying. He's limiting his potential. Anytime that you get in a relationship with a woman and you have to start limiting your potential, meaning that if you dress nice, you're cheating. Meaning if you start going to the gym, you're looking for another woman. Meaning if you're making more money, they start making it difficult for you. Start arguing and stuff like that. There's nothing wrong that if the relationship is not working, to back out and leave, even if you're married, because the only thing that's happening is you're living off a fear based relationship from the woman's conscious, you know. But let's keep it moving.
And yeah, just to cope, I guess. But, it did end up, she did say it was over 100%. She moved out. I was devastated for a couple weeks, imagining her with this other guy. He must be way better than me. I was taking it very personal, like it was an attack on me, like I'm not good enough. But in reality, our relationship wasn't very good. She had her insecurities, I had mine. I wasn't
Ain't that the truth? And
being a good.
what I noticed is that most relationships, we're a lot of Americans and people in the world are with people that they're not necessarily in line with, that they're not supposed to be with. There's a lot of people like that, you know, and a lot of times you keep on fighting and being miserable, and trying to be like, okay, it's gonna get better, and it never does.
Husband. I thought I was. I thought I was being a good husband. I provided. I would take her on trips. We would do things together. But I didn't have any, like I said, I didn't have boundaries. I wasn't masculine. I didn't know how to have good sex. I was very much just a boy who was pretending to be a man. I didn't learn anything from my father to be a man. So I don't blame her for wanting to leave. I'm glad it's over. But I do remember specifically having to accept that it was over. And I remember reading Tony Robbins or Jim Rome, probably both, talking about how you can either keep doing what you're doing or you can change and just become a different person. It's a personal responsibility. So that's what I've learned over the years is I don't blame her for her actions. I don't blame my parents for how they raised me. Everything comes down to my responsibility. And, some of that came from, I mentioned in the last video, Sum 41. Just that mindset shift of I can change. I can be a different person. I can.
This is absolutely insane. Congratulations to this dude. He got it. He figured he might not figure it out in the short term, but he eventually figured it out. So, kudos to him. And if you ain't subscribed, make sure you guys subscribe. And I'm gonna holler at you guys in the next video. Over and out.